me to a 1940s vintage event. I love doing these videos. You may have seen my previous year's hair tutorials, but this year I decided to do a makeup and hair tutorial so you get the full get ready with me experience. Starting out with a face that is primed, I have foundation on and I have primed my eyelids as well, and we're moving straight into brows. The vintage brow is of the distinctly thinner and more highly arched variety, so I'm using a medium brown colour to accentuate the arches of my brows and fill them in. Then to commence the eyeshadow, I'm using the Faced Cinnamon Swirl palette for this first light, slightly shimmery shade to really open up my eyes and make them glow. Then with the white chocolate bar palette, I'm taking this warm pink coral colour and using my finger to dab that onto the outer half of my eyelid. I think this looks really, really pretty and just adds a bit of a warm glow to the eye. Dipping back into that first palette, I'm taking a warm medium brown shade with a fluffy brush and starting on the outer corner of my eye, I'm using a slight V shape and just buffing that into the crease in a sort of rounded motion on the inner corner and then more of a V on the outer corner. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about when I say that. I'm also applying that same brown colour on the lower lash line to define my eye. Really highlight underneath the brow to accentuate that arch, and the 1940s were all about a lot of mascara, so I'm applying several coats of this brown coloured mascara by Kiko. To make yourself look like you haven't been up all night with the air raids, apply some concealer under your eyes, and then I'm buffing that out for a nice radiant complexion. And of course, no vintage look is complete without a beautiful matte complexion. So powder well and take a compact powder with me for touch-ups throughout the day. Honestly, can you imagine being up all night in an air raid shelter and then having to just go about your day afterwards the next day? The things that people adjust to is truly amazing. I am creating some definition in my face with a bit of bronzer around the hairline, around the nose and the cheekbones to accentuate them. And then I always tend to go for a brighter sort of coral blush rather than a pink for this event, so that's what I'm applying on my cheeks. Highlighter may not be entirely historically accurate, but I personally can't do without it, so I am applying on my cheekbones. I had actually only just dyed my hair blonde the day before and cut it a little bit shorter, so this hairstyle was, as most of mine are, incredibly improvised. But I think it actually came out really pretty. So I set my hair in rollers. I'm picking out the very top section that I want to use for the main portion of like the styling, and I'm just getting the rest of it kind of out of my way with some combs. I futzed around with the top for so long trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it, but what I eventually settled on was creating this large sort of pin curled fringe look. So after smoothing the whole thing out, I took 4 large sections of the whole top of my head, rolled it into a pin curl and then pinned it in place with bobby pins. I think this looks really, really cute and really pretty, very authentic. They were all about these sort of pin curled roll details in 1940s hairstyles, which is why I love them so much. And you can really play around with this depending on the colours of your hair, if you have any funky colours dyed into it, or the length or the thickness, or if you have an actual fringe. I think it's just really versatile and really, really pretty. I'm making sure I'm completely happy with how all of the curls are sitting and how secure they feel. You can see that I am adjusting that top curl there because I wasn't entirely comfortable with the way it was sitting. So I'm just readjusting the bobby pin to make sure that it feels nice and secure because I knew I would be dancing at this event. And then popping on my vintage hat to complete the look and adding an extra flower because what can I say, I just can't get enough. I felt like the other side of my head was a bit empty almost, and I wanted a bit more detail, so I created a small standing pin curl with the pin curl sculpture tool, which I just pinned in place, and then a larger pin curl that was a little bit flatter sitting. I love this hairdo. I think it's so pretty, and it just shows that you don't have to have super long hair to create a really gorgeous vintage style. To me, when I think jewellery in the 1940s, I always think pearls. I think pearls and vintage are just quite synonymous at this point, so I am adding 2 really pretty pairs of pearl earrings into my 2 lobe piercings. Bésame's 1941 Victory Red is the most perfect red lipstick to ever grace this planet. Prove me wrong, look at that. Look at that. I love the 1940s lip shape as well. I think it's so pretty, and I absolutely love how this look came out. Please let me know what you think of it in the comments.
I've been to the top of Mount Everest. I've sailed the 7 seas. I've shared the stage with all the best. Lot of good it did for me. I've walked the wall of China, walked till my feet were sore. Came home to Carolina and found my love next door.